For 3+ decades, this has been the place where grudges have been settled, mechanical marvels have flown high, and champions have been made. The gleaming steeds parade round the mile. Dawn on this race day is sunset on a legendary era. It's time for the granddaddy of them all as Tire Rack presents the 43rd annual Fall 4-Wheel Jamboree Nationals driven by Yokohama from the Indiana State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis, Indiana. And you know, this is the end of one era. It will start the new as we wrap up the Jamboree's time here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. It was back in 1988 that they ran for the last time over at the Marion County Fairgrounds, and next year they will move about 20 minutes down the road to the Hendricks County Fairgrounds in Danville, Indiana, but will remain here in the Hoosier State as we wrap up action here in the City of Speed, the 43rd annual Fall 4-Wheel Jamboree Nationals. We're going to go right into the Monsters of Destruction action over on the infield. The Raminator coming out first, Mark Hall out of Champaign, Illinois. Those big Firestones with the buff bars on them. Going to lay down a qualifying shot here on a rather complex S-shaped course. You'll see in a moment they're going to make outside turns in each lane and finish on the outside of their respective side of the track. Hall will set the pace here in qualifying. Caught the end of that tabletop just a little bit, making now his first right-hand turn. The second tabletop here now, he'll make a hard left-hand turn. Final jump and across the finish line right there. We'll see what the time was that he nets. This will set the stage for the rest of our 7-truck field. 26.86 for Hall. See if that stands up with the rest of the trucks coming up behind him. And here's a driver we haven't gotten a chance to see before, but a guy who definitely is looking for great things in the future. Carson Williams out of the state of Washington, driving the Utah-based Kamikaze as Lee Collins gets ready to give him the green. Little trouble with that first jump. He hopped across it, and he clips that little wedge down there in the corners. They've dirt corner markers out here. You hit one of those, you can go over on your top in a hurry. Now as he makes the final right-hand corner on that far side of the left lane, and he'll cross the finish line there at a 27.09, so he's on par with Mark Hall for the moment anyway. But we'll see if those times stand up. Keep in mind, Hall's been struggling a bit with the lockers front and rear, that newer setup on the Raminator. Not quite to his liking just yet as Jack Brown rolls out of Indiana in the Dozer. Home state hero right here. Little bobble in that corner as they get used to this track, but beautifully executed launch right there over that second tabletop. Now to the final. This should be a quick run. You saw him cross the finish line right there. Oh boy, is it 24.74 seconds. So he betters the top time by more than 2 seconds right there as our next machine rolls out of Knoxville, Maryland, R.J. Turner in the bright white War Wizard. Almost like butter, but he got into one of the freestyle obstacles there as he had kind of awkward landing off that first jump. He runs spools front and rear on this truck, and it's pushing an awful lot in the corners, and you can see him trying to get wide on the corners, and it might be hurting him negotiating between all these moguls and tabletops out here, and right there, he smokes the tires. Guy who never likes to qualify number one. I can tell you that right now. He doesn't like me saying it. A 30.93, but it was evident he was not going to be at the top of the field now as Kurt Kramer rolls out in Rammunition, among other things that will be coming to an end in the 2024, going into the 2025 season. Kurt Kramer looking to retire this name, and we'll see a new name on this truck for the 2025 Jamboree season. Problems there for him as well. He struggles with the turn. Now those two cones he knocked down over there were for the tough truck racers. Coming up a little later, there's a drain right there that these guys have to watch out for the water and sewage on this track. You don't want to clip that thing, but 28.96, not going to get him into the upper crust. Right now, Dozer sits on top, followed by Raminator, and Rammunition now sitting in, or excuse me, Kamikaze now sitting in the number 3 spot. Rammunition now sits number 4. Out rolls a guy who won 2 of 3 races last time out in Bloomsburg. Darren Basil in Blockhead out of Texas, driving for the team out of Lafayette, Indiana. Fan favorite right here, going after that 24/7 laid down by Jack Brown. Little trouble in that turn right there, getting it negotiated for that last jump, and he crosses the finish line. Not going to be as fast as Brown, his teammate, 25.79. So he's off the pace by just a little more than a second. Try to pick that up, but a guy who could definitely turn that around as Tim Hall Jr., a phenom from Team Throttle Monster, originally out of Cadillac, Michigan, not far from home. This is one of his old stomping grounds growing up, coming out to watch the Jamboree with his father. Driving again for this team out of Utah, and he is on the hammer. Minor bobble on a couple of those turns, but a great run for Tim Hall Jr., and it nets him the number 1 spot. A 23.74, 1 second faster than Jack Brown at the end of qualifying, and that will seed the bracket for round 1. Jurassic Attack will get the bye in round 1. It'll be Dozer against Kamikaze. Blockhead will take on Rammunition, and Raminator will go against War Wizard. And RJ Turner's been looking to get at the Hall brothers since Bloomsburg. So stay with us. We're going to get these trucks re-racked. We'll also have the Tough Trucks Challenge coming up after the break. Stay with us. More to come from the City of Speed.
This presentation is brought to you by Monsters Monthly, your place for photos, videos, event info, and all the happenings in the monster truck industry. Visit monstersmonthly.com. And by Crush This. For a weekly look inside the wide world of monster trucks, check out Crush This, a monster truck podcast. Available on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube.
The Monsters of Destruction Tour returns to the Corbin Arena for 2 big nights, Friday, March 13th and Saturday, March 14th, featuring Raminator, Ramdemption, High Roller, Hurricane Force, and War Wizard. Come see the big boys push the limits in an epic thrill show, plus the local 4x4s fight it out in our tough truck competition. Every ticket is a free pit pass. Come ready to meet the drivers and take a ride in a real monster truck. Don't miss the Monsters of Destruction at the Corbin Arena, March 13th and 14th. Get tickets at monstersofdestruction.com.
This program is brought to you by RPM Army. For a wide array of content from across the motorsports world, visit rpmarmy.com. Your high-performance fix on the go.
Back with you from the Indiana State Fairgrounds. A little slower back there than when Barney Oldfield broke the mile-a-minute record back in 1903 as the fans enjoying the nice weather here this evening on the cruise lane. We're back on the infield, though, with the Tough Trucks Challenge getting ready to qualify for Sunday afternoon's main, and the Foy Toy guys, as always, out in force here in 2024. There you see the Warhorse in the near lane out of Appalachian, New York. That is Loopy, Mike Leupold, lined up next to Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania's own Brett Sponenberg. Beer Money on the far side of the track. These guys have a labyrinth they have to take care of here. Some similar terrain to the monster truck course, but they have to hit a few more jumps a few more times, and they have to deal with that berm up near the starting line. That's what that is there for. Smoking the tires out here on the asphalt. Again, this is just to set the stage for Sunday afternoon's race. They're going to be qualifying multiple times this weekend, though. See the long wheelbase Warhorse with the Jeep chassis underneath. About even up there as they hit. Wow, Brett Sponenberg clears the back end of that tabletop there. It's got that little roller off the back end of it. You get in a lot of trouble if you case that jump going a little too fast. We have seen some wild rides here in the past. Sponenberg is sailing right now, trying to stay out in front of Mike Leupold. Remember, they're going to get an individual time when you broke the transponder. Not when you left the starting line, but when you first broke the transponder. That is what your qualifying time will be based on, and we will see those come up here in a second as they just completed the run. The transponder is just in front of that final jump before they actually hit the ramp, and they both took a little bit of a chance there dive bombing that backside of that first ramp, and it's a pair of 1:16s with a 2, so a minute 16 seconds and change as our next pair comes up. Bad Intentions, the black truck in the near lane. That is Jimmer Martin out of Owego, New York, lined up next to the Godfather. Jake Nichols, the Foy Toy, out of Little Meadows, Pennsylvania, and he is out on Martin already. Nichols won the event out in Bloomsburg on Sunday afternoon after struggling a bit. Mike Leupold was slated to win the event, but he rolled over in the midst of a bye run and damaged the rear suspension. Look at Nichols flying right there. Jimmer Martin having some control issues with Bad Intentions. He's going to be taking that thing back to the pits and looking underneath of it. I think he may have a broken axle or something because it seems to be pulling awful hard to one side. When he gets on the throttle, it doesn't seem to want to stay straight. Remember, this is a team that runs cutter brakes on the rear of the... Oh, Martin in trouble right there. Got hung up on the berm. Jake Nichols going to continue on, and Martin's trying to get off that berm. There he goes, gets it backed up. We'll see if he finishes the run to go ahead and lay down a time, get used to the track, but Nichols is way out on... Look at this. Martin's still trying to stay in this thing. I'd say he's the wild man of this group, but that would describe every one of these guys as Nichols crosses the finish line. Again, Martin really struggling to keep that machine straight right now. Look at this. It's a hard landing right there on the nose. Seems like it might be coming back to life for him. And again, problems on that berm. He almost rolls it over right there. Very wisely backed out of it to, one, avoid going across the center line and getting a DQ, and two, running over that. You see that piece of conduit going down the center of the track. Lee Collins heads out to have a word with Martin, figure out if he needs a tow or if he's going to be able to finish the run. Trying to keep him from running over the cables that go down the center of the track that run not only the staging light but the transponder equipment. That's what that conduit is, as I mentioned, running between the two lanes there, that piece of pipe. And it looks like Martin will, well, yeah, he ran over the cable, so he will finish the run. Pair of times there. Foy Toy ran a 1:18.01. That'll put him in third, and Bad Intentions ran a 2:28 with a 2 as Haulin' Ass rolls out. This is Scott Martin, also out of Owego, New York. Martin Towing represented here as the one of the title sponsors for this team. He's on a bye run. Now, he's driving this track smart right now. We'll see. He'll probably get a little more aggressive once he gets used to the track. Right there, though, you can see he kind of comes in on the back of that little roller on the top of that jump. And again, that's a treacherous thing right there. If you hit it too hard with the nose, you could definitely do some damage to a ring and pinion, and if you case it, you could endo the truck very easily. But they're trying to get a feel for that jump. You don't want to hit it too hard and land way out on the asphalt, because you are up there. You're about 8-10 feet in the air, and it's a heck of a ride when you come down hard. He knows that. He had a hard hit out in Bloomsburg when he cleared one of the jumps and landed hard on the nose. They were able to get the truck back in the action and finish the weekend, but he almost put himself out of the event as he took that turn a little bit tight. Martin going to wrap up the run here, though, and haul an ass. Respectable time at 1:22.72. Not what he was looking for, but you can see how long this track is for these guys, and we will have them coming back for another session here in just a few minutes. Right now, though, we're going to head back to the pits. We're going to take a quick break. The monster trucks coming back to the tarmac when we come back to Indianapolis. Stay with us. Coming back at you from the infield of the famed Indy Mile here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis, Indiana. The monster trucks headed back to the line as Tire Rack presents the 43rd Annual Fall Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals driven by Yokohama. A little refresher here on the racing bracket in round one. Of course, Jurassic Attack took its bye run a little bit earlier. We'll show you that at the end of these pairings here as our first pairing rolls out. Your second quick qualifier, Jack Brown in Dozer, taking on Kamikaze, the newcomer, Carson Williams, who was impressive in qualifying. We'll see if he learned anything from that going against Jack Brown here, who had a fairly successful run out in Bloomsburg. In fact, the DCT Power Sports crew, took 2 of 3 victories in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania at the Summer Nationals. The other victory went to Mark Hall in Raminator. That was the first victory of the MOD Jamboree Tour on Friday evening out there in Bloomsburg. So we'll see. Does the newcomer have anything for Jack Brown as he rolls into stage? Right now, Lee Collins bringing them up to the line. Brown's confident, but he's got to be sweating this kid just a little bit after watching his qualifying run, knowing, well, Brown not... Well, no, never mind. I thought Brown might be restaging, but Carson Williams gets the green light and takes off. What happened here? Heck of a way to get into this field, a very competitive field, and it might be a walkover for Carson Williams as he continues on, letting off the throttle, so he doesn't have any competition. And he may just roll on back to the pits and save it for the next round. No, he's headed back to the starting line. So apparently a problem in staging up there. We did see Jack Brown motion to the center of the track before the thumbs up. And I'm not sure if there was a miscommunication there with Brown on the starting line. They may have thought he gave the thumbs up, but I'm wondering if the A-pillar on Dozer there, or maybe the blade on the front of that body, blocked that staging light, because Carson Williams is back up there on the line getting ready to pull into stage. Lee Collins and Crazy Craig out there right now moving that starting light. So apparently he couldn't see it. That is what happened right there. We did see Jack Brown motion over there, but did not apparently indicate a problem. But I guess there was, and I don't know if that thing got moved in between the Tough Trucks Challenge qualifying session and the first round of these monster trucks, but you know, or maybe it's his lane position caused a problem, but definitely wanting to make it fair here for these competitors. Kamikaze and Dozer back on the line. Did it take either one of them out of their mindset? Did it take them off their game? Great start for both trucks. Carson Williams might be possessed here. He was not happy about having to go back to the line, I guarantee you that, but Jack Brown is checking out on him right now. Final turn for Brown. Can he hold on to it? Looks like he's got a little bit out of shape right there, coming across the final jump, but great run for Brown. Take nothing away from Carson Williams, though. He was coming after him. As Williams will head back to the pits and get ready for freestyle. Jack Brown picking up a win, but he did have to work for it. If he lost anything in that final turn, Williams could have gone right on by him as our next pair rolls out. Kurt Kramer in Rammunition, who had his fair share of troubles out in Bloomsburg. He actually lost a wheel. He broke a champagne on the second day of action out there. Or excuse me, that was the first day of action. He broke a champagne and actually lost a tire in racing. He goes side by side with a guy who had his own share of moments in Bloomsburg as he put this truck on its top. Darren Basil en route to a semifinal round victory against Brandon Darrow. In Bad News Travels Fast, he clipped one of the track markers at speed, coming across a very dusty finish line. Almost saved the truck, but then ended up on his top. Managed to pick up a few wins out there and unseat the Hall brothers as the champions after their Friday night victory in racing, and they would love to get that back from the DCT Power Sports crew. They could start right here. Kurt Kramer in the near lane going after Basil, and he clips the top of that jump, puts him up on the nose, and he starts losing ground immediately. Basil with a little problem on that turn. Got a little wide, now trying to switch back to the outside turn. Kramer a little conservative right there as he tries to get used to that new setup with the locker in the front end. They have a different setup on these Hall Brothers trucks than they had for many, many years. They ran a locker in the rear and an open front end and allowed them to kind of dive into the corners, and now trying to get used to the truck wanting to push all the way through. And that's something I mentioned earlier with RJ Turner and the War Wizard running spools front and rear, and there it doesn't unlock or anything. Your tires are tethered together, and the truck has a tendency to want to kind of shove its way through the corners, and that can be a problem when you get on asphalt, especially. It's just that smooth surface. It doesn't want to bite and turn, but he's got another guy who's trying to figure it out right here. Mark Hall, again in the Raminator, going side by side with Turner. Hall took the first win on the Jamboree Tour this year out in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Was unable to repeat. Would like to climb back to the top of the mountain here this weekend at the wheel of the Raminator Ram Trucks Division machine out of Champaign, Illinois. And grease that first jump. He's going to be all by himself, though, on this run. A problem for War Wizard, and this is definitely not another staging light situation, because you saw Turner lurch there on the starting line and then come to an immediate halt. I have to believe he might have a transmission problem. Hall goes ahead and makes a run out of it. You can see the finish line is a little ways past that final jump, so when you land, you got to get back on the throttle. You're not just jumping across that finish line. Bit of a challenge to get there first. If you have a close race down there, you could lose that race if you let out of the throttle too early. And you can see RJ Turner climbing down. Lee Collins taking a peek underneath where the transmission would be in that truck, but the motor did zing on the starting line, so I have to believe he may have broken an input or output shaft. Hopefully it's something simple and he did not shell that transmission, but they're going to get that back to the pits and get that changed out. Hopefully they'll be back for freestyle. We're going to show you now the bye run of Tim Hall Jr., who qualified number 1, and that gave him this bye into round 2, and you can see he was still very aggressive on this pass in the far lane. Maybe a little too aggressive right there, but he's getting it figured out. This is the time to overdrive the track. When you're by yourself, you can learn a lot from one of these runs. Sometimes guys with a bye run, they'll take it easy, try to preserve the truck. That's not always the best idea because you give up little bits of information about the track when you do that. But Tim Hall Jr. moves on over into round number 2, the semifinals, and we're going to be headed there in a few minutes. The tough trucks will be back out in just a moment when we come back to the Indy Mile, the infield of the Indy Mile, with the Monsters of Destruction and the Tough Trucks Challenge here at the 43rd Annual Fall 4-Wheel Jamboree, driven by Yokohama. Stay with us. Welcome back to the infield of the Indiana State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis, Indiana, as Tire Rack presents the 43rd Annual Fall 4-Wheel Jamboree Nationals, driven by Yokohama. So we get ready to go with our second session in qualifying with the Tough Trucks Challenge, and that earlier qualifying session was technically a practice, but those times can carry over as we get back underway. A hard hit right there for Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania's Brett Sponenberg in beer money. Remember, these two guys qualified with identical 1:16.27s in the first qualifying session. Now here in the second, Sponenberg going to have to play catch-up again, but remember, he had to do the same thing in the previous session, out of the other lane, working hard now to try to keep on pace with Mike Leupold in the Warhorse. Up into that Talladega turn. Well, Sponenberg almost dropped off of that big tabletop right there into the second leg of this long thread. Right now, a problem for Sponenberg right there. He almost got into the turn marker. Spun out. Now he's really got to play catch-up. Lupe is absolutely flying those tabletops, now headed for the final leg. Another problem for Sponenberg. Look at this. He has knocked a tire down. The right front is flat on beer money, and Mike Leupold will qualify 1:14.76. So he has sped up immensely from that 1:16.27, and Sponenberg will cruise off the track. They're going to get that tire pumped back up for tomorrow. They'll come back and try it again. Now, a guy who had all kinds of trouble in Session 1, Jimmer Martin and Bad Intentions out of Owego, New York, side by side with Little Meadows, Pennsylvania's Jake Nichols, the Foy Toy. 2023 Ford Bronco Custom on this thing. Boy, he is real aggressive right off the starting line. Super safe machine, by the way, as he learned a lot from his previous truck that he destroyed. And this one right here, a little bit longer wheelbase. Oh, and a problem for Jimmer. Again, having issues controlling that vehicle. And I have to think he's either got a broken axle or maybe a broken hub. Something is not right. Maybe he has a broken differential in that thing. You can see he loops it again. Jake Nichols all on his own out here right now, shooting for a 1:14, I believe a 1:14.76 laid down by Mike Leupold in the Warhorse. Nichols ran a 1:18.01, so he'd love to speed up from his first session time. And Jimmer Martin is just not, oh yeah, look at that. The left front is locked up. You can see it right there. The left front is not turning. So he has lost drive on at least one wheel, if not the whole front end. He may have lost front wheel drive altogether, and you do need that to work your way around these very difficult threads here as Jake Nichols works his way toward the finish line around the Talladega turn and across the transponder cable. 1:14.72. He goes to the number 1 spot. just by a little bit. They're starting to close in on each other, that's for sure, as Jimmer Martin is stuck over there on the berm. Very dejected driver right now. They're going to get him off the track, and we'll see the other member of the Martin family out here, Scott Martin, in just a moment, as Jimmer is going to have to spend the rest of tonight and tomorrow working, but he's definitely got a problem. You saw that left front when he got into the berm. It was not turning. He was just locked up there spinning the rear tires. Here comes Scott Martin now in hauling ass around the backside of the track there, and we'll see if he's able to speed up. He was not even close to what he was hoping for in the first session. He ran a 1:22.72, I believe, and he'd like to speed that up a little bit if he could. He should be a little more aggressive this time around, trying to get a feel for the track on those practice runs, and didn't expect them to be as fast as they'd be in this session, but a few of these trucks ailing right now as they get prepped for the longest track on the circuit this year. Indy has a tendency to be a very difficult and long circuit. Nice takeoff. He spun the tires. I think he's working his way down to the tarmac there. Again, like I said, much more aggressive in this first official qualifying session, but the times from practice could still stand if they are the better times, as Scott Martin works his way through the first leg. Not really attacking the jumps the way we're used to seeing him, but he's definitely more aggressive, just throwing it into these turns here. Maybe a little conservative on the tabletops, trying to find that rhythm to get it to come down the downside of those ramps smoothly, and right there is kind of the trick spot. If you land that thing short, you can do damage on the front end. If you land it up a little too far, you're definitely going to come down hard on the tarmac, and if you kind of land in between, you can easily endo one of these modified tough trucks. So he works his way through the second half. There we go. Now he's got a little cruising speed up one side, down the other. Work his way back toward turn and transponder cable across the line. Let's see what the time is for Scott Martin. Ran a 1:22.72 in session one. He will not speed up. Consistent though. Look at that. Back to back 1:22s with 7. So he's right there. We'll take a look at the times after the first two qualifying sessions. There you see right there, Jake Nichols, a 1:14.72. Then Mike Leupold with a 1:14.76, a 1:16.27 from the first session for Brett Sponenberg. Scott Martin still hanging in there with that 1:22.72 and a 2:28.20 from the first session for Jimmer Martin. Stay with us. The monster trucks back on the track. The final four hit the tarmac when we come back to Indy.
Hey, welcome to Wild Man Adventures. Heard the Silver Lake Sand Dragway. There really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out of.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter.
Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo.
Gotta check it out. This week we're gonna go down memory lane.
Those who go know there truly is something for everyone at the Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals, as Tire Rack presents the 43rd Annual Fall Four-Wheel Jamboree Nationals, driven by Yokohama, and this is the last time, the end of an era, that they will all meet here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Next year they will be moving over to the Hendricks County Fairgrounds, but what a way to wrap it up here with the monster trucks and the Tough Trucks Challenge, the Monsters of Destruction, coming back to the line for semifinal round racing action here on night number one. They have 3 races to get through this weekend, and Jack Brown should have been at the line by now, but they are right now struggling to get that truck to fire. You can see the DCT crew over there and the track crew over there trying to figure it out. Evan Chandler headed that way as well. It looks like they're trying to get a jump on it. The trailers are over behind the wall, so they have to leave the infield and go over where the trailers are. It's not too far away, but it can be a bit of a hike when you're under the gun. Darren Basil sits on the line, and he has refired Blockhead, and he's going to go ahead into stage, and I don't see any movement from Dozer over there in the corner. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be a bye run for Darren Basil, so we will have Blockhead in another final round. See if he can net himself another victory here on the Jamboree Series. Not taking it easy. Look at him throw it into that final corner. What a run for Basil. A very impressive pass there. We'll get him on into the championship race, and he will take on the winner of our next matchup. That will be between a pair of Halls. No relation. This is Mark Hall. And he goes side by side with Tim Hall Jr. There are two Tim Halls here this weekend. Again, no relation. Tim Hall, the head of Hall Brothers Racing out of Champaign, Illinois, the Ram Trucks Division team, representing the Ram Trucks folks well. Solana's very happy to have these guys on board every year, and they do show up with their equipment not only in race condition but in show condition. But Mark Hall, who is a legend in his own right, a Hall of Famer, he and his brother both Hall of Famers. He is picked on one of the toughest of the new gen drivers, Tim Hall Jr. in Jurassic Attack. From right up the road in Cadillac, Michigan, now driving for the team out of Utah. And Mark Hall doesn't leave the line. Tim Hall Jr. on a free pass, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Nope, he's going back to the line. Hall didn't leave the line. Apparently a problem with the staging again. You can see Lee Collins throwing his hands up. That light hasn't moved, by the way. I can tell you that staging light has not moved. I'm not sure. Maybe it flickered. I'm wondering if maybe the light flickered. Every once in a while, we can listen in. We can't let you guys hear it, but we can listen in on the Hall Brothers radio communication, but we didn't hear anything right there. I'm not sure what caused the problem. They restaged. They have not moved that staging light. It's still where it was. Not sure what the problem was there. Boy, Tim Hall Jr. is not going to let that take him out of his mindset. Mark Hall is all over the place down there trying to get wide. Tim Hall Jr. kind of walk over into the next round. I hate to say that because he was battling one of the toughest in the game, multi-time Thunder Drags champion. Has put many championships to bed right here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds, Mark Hall, but it's not going to be on this day. It will be Jurassic Attack Tim Hall Jr. taking on Darren Basil in Blockhead in the championship race, and a very dejected Mark Hall goes back to the pits. I'm not sure what happened there on the starting line. I can tell you for certain that that staging light did not move between the last round of Monster Trucks and this round of Monster Trucks. It stayed there through the Tough Trucks, so I do not know what the problem was up there on the starting line, and we go right back at it right now with Blockhead and Jurassic Attack. Tim Hall Jr., who did not come here to come up second. He came here to do battle at a facility he grew up coming to as a youth. Always wanted to come out here and not only perform in front of the awesome fans here in the Indianapolis metropolitan area, but also to take a win here would mean a lot to him. He knows he can get a freestyle victory. He's not afraid to run this truck into the ground. He said it may not be in one piece by the end of the weekend, but I can tell you, if he could take a racing victory, especially against the likes of the Hall brothers, against the likes of the DCT Power Sports crew, and against his own teammate, it would mean the world to him. Darren Basil, though, is not going to go quietly on this one. He's already picked up some wins this year on the Jamboree Tour. He'd like to put another one in the books here tonight. As they've come to stage, Lee Collins clears the line. We wait on green. Little edge off the line for Basil, but it looks like Hall got even up with him very quick. Look how hard he goes into that turn. Smoke in the rear tires. Where is Basil? They're still side by side into the final leg. And Basil with a problem on the turn gives the win away, but don't take anything away from Tim Hall Jr. He earned every bit of that Jurassic attack. Your racing champion here on night number 1 in Indianapolis, Indiana. It will go back to Utah, Sherrod going back to Cadillac, Michigan, and he gets that win in front of his friends and family. Tim Hall Jr. wins night 1 here in Indy.
Are you ready to get in on the action here on the Monster Truck Attitude YouTube channel? Look no further. Head over to Facebook where you can sign up for all the great events we host right here on the MTA YouTube channel. Be sure to sign up for the events and register your name and get locked in with a monster truck of your own and get ready for the great thrills and spills right here on the MTA YouTube channel. Again, find us on Facebook, register for these events, and you soon will be competing in all the great events. We hope to see you there. And get ready for the wild and crazy action. Be sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss a beat right here on the Monster Truck Attitude YouTube channel.
The sun setting over the Indy Mile means it's time for freestyle here on Friday night. Carson Williams getting ready to open up the field. This guy has been impressive the first time we've gotten to see him in competition, and we know he's building up for a big 2025 as he will get a new identity. We'll actually be seeing him continue to compete on the Monsters of Destruction Tour. Same truck, I do believe, that he's in right now, but with a whole new look. Will be coming your way for the next season as he opens up our freestyle competition here. Keeping up that speed. This is a massive competition space out here, and you can see they didn't even utilize that whole secondary parking area. As you start getting too far out there, these trucks will start running out of gear. It would take about as long to get out there as it would to complete a standard freestyle run. Nice momentum here, and you're going to start seeing throughout this weekend some guys start to utilize the sides of these jumps. We've seen it in years past. Looks like that's exactly what he's about to do. Just getting a feel for it here on Friday night, but not afraid of it for sure. Just hitting whatever's in front of him. Lee Collins and the rest of the Events Inc. crew will head out there later this evening and early tomorrow morning and clean this track up, make it look good as new for Saturday afternoon's racing session and Saturday night's freestyle session. We'll be coming at you on their next 2 editions of coverage from here at the Fall 4-Wheel Jamboree. Up and over the berm right there. And they have to be careful back there. They were told not to drift around there too much because there is some timing equipment laid under the dirt for the Tough Trucks Challenge, and they have to avoid digging that up. Look at the front brake rotor glowing hot. He's getting out there on that horse track. Looks like he's going to go ahead and wrap the run up. Carson Williams, well, getting on the throttle out there. He is going to get a talking to right now. They were told explicitly in that driver's meeting not to do anything on that horse track. And I don't think he cared. I don't know if he was planning on a parade lap and it went awry when the rear end drifted out on him or not, but I don't know if anybody in the grandstands can see any of this now, because he just dumped a ton of dust onto the seats back there. Had to get it woed before he got on this access road. And it looks like he will wrap up that run right there. A great run for Carson Williams. Good to set the stage. We will see who comes out on top of this thing, but I can guarantee you he's going to get an earful from this track staff for hitting the horse track like that, and I guarantee you the track staff's going to get an earful from the fairgrounds crew for him doing that. Kurt Kramer now in Rammunition, sort of part of the Swan Song tour for this identity, as Ram Trucks will be debuting a new identity for this machine in 2025. We'll be seeing continue on the Jamboree Tour. You see him get off the throttle right there. He got kind of crossed up. He went over that conduit I was talking about. They can run over that, but they also were told in that driver's meeting, again, no donuts up there, no drifting through there, because if they snag that line, they are going to yank the soundboard, the staging light cables, the timing equipment right off of the scoring table up there where Chuck Plumley and the crew are. And Craig and Lee Collins are going to be none too happy if they damage several $1,000s worth of electronic timing equipment. Nice right there. It's a little bit of a trip because it's a lot of space, and coming across these jumps parallel to where our camera crew is, it doesn't seem like there's a ton to play with. There's actually a lot of angles on this track, but you got to pick and choose. You can get lost out here as big as this place is, but coming toward where we are, there's actually a lot of space out here in spite of the kind of forced perspective from these camera angles. You can get a lot of hang time if you hit these jumps coming across the track. Jack Brown now, who will just throw caution to the wind here in the Dirt Crew Dozer. Kurt Kramer, by the way, not going to get on top of the field here in Freestyle as he wrapped up a fairly quick run there in Rammunition. Jack Brown now trying to best Carson Williams. You can see there's a few ramps down there that these guys haven't really gotten after yet. They're just waiting for somebody with the guts to hit them wide open, but there's some rocket ramps down there. Gonna go for some two-wheel action here. It's tough when you get out there. When you start to push dirt and soil, you get that topsoil out on top of that pavement, it starts to get tough, and that's where all the dust you're seeing is coming from. For anybody that's gonna get in this comment section and say the word water truck, believe me, we know, and it's been out here already. As he goes after, that's one of the jumps I was talking about, and he carries a slap wheelie out of it, right up and over another obstacle. Jack Brown using the track to perfection. That right there is what I was talking about, too. You see, you can cross these jumps up. You got to remember where you are, though, because if you land nose first into another one, you can do a ton of damage. And Jack Brown laying down an awesome run in the Dirt Crew Dozer. I do believe that's going to take over the #1 spot. We will find out when we get back as we're just getting Freestyle underway here in Indy. Stay with us.
The Monsters of Destruction return to the Corbin Arena March 13th and 14th, featuring Raminator, Ramdemption, High Roller, Hurricane Force, and War Wizard, plus Tough Truck competition. Come early for the free pit party. The Monsters of Destruction at the Corbin Arena March 13th and 14th. Get tickets at monstersofdestruction.com.
A little earlier today, we were bathed in sunshine here at the Fall Nationals, the 43rd annual Fall 4-Wheel Jamboree Nationals. Now the sun is setting over the horizon, and we continue on with Freestyle right now with Jack Brown leading the charge. Here comes Mark Hall in the Ram Trucks Raminator, the Hall Brothers camp out of Champaign, Illinois. The big Hemi-powered Ram. Be getting a new look for 2025 as well. 2024, truly the end of an era for not only this team, not only for this Jamboree. Whoa, Mark Hall saving himself a little trouble in the track crew, a little money. I know I keep calling attention to that conduit over there, and it may not seem like much, but again, it was mentioned in the drivers' meeting for a reason. Hall's doing a nice job here keeping up the momentum. Gonna burn up those firestones. Leave a little carbon down there on the far end of the tarmac. Tell you how hard the compound is in those tires. As he was heating those things up, and it was a pretty translucent cloud of smoke you saw there. Those are some really, really hardy hunks of rubber on the four corners of that big Hemi-powered Ram, and a lot of guys don't run tires like that anymore. They run tires with a much softer, lighter compound, but the Hall brothers really do believe in the product here because you can get so much use out of it, so much more wear and tear without aging the tires as quickly. That was a good run. I don't think it's going to take over Jack Brown's spot in the Dozer, but here's a guy who could get the job done, the teammate. Runner-up in racing, here comes Darren Basil in Blockhead. Eddie Micah built chassis. It's sort of the twin chassis to the Dozer machine with the square main rails, and starting to see more of that kind of come back into this motorsport. A lot of guys believing in that square main rail setup. It's very sturdy. It's a lot harder to bend those than it is round tubing, and it offers a lot of rigidity. You got to do a little more work to step them in, but it's a little more simple geometry to work with as well for certain practical applications. And he's going to smoke those tires down there, and you can see the difference. That's a softer compound tire. You got a lot whiter, a lot thicker smoke out of that. Nice hit right there. That's one of those jumps I was talking about. You see the suspension go to work on this thing. He runs that accumulator shock with a coilover accumulator shock next to it. Those coils help keep this thing at ride height without relying solely on that sway bar and solely on the nitrogen. It allows the shock to work a little harder without totally overworking the valving. a little more consistency for those coilovers. There's a few guys out here who really believe in them, and he is one of them. This is a choppy run right here, and that's coming across the short end there. There are a few launches. If you can get the truck angled right, you could go from one obstacle to the other. But Friday night, they're just trying to get a feel for this course. I can guarantee Saturday and Sunday, you are going to see some of these guys absolutely launch those things from the side. He just took out one of our turn markers down there. Darren Basil in Blockhead laying it down here on the infield of the Indy Mile. And I don't know if he's going to go to the number one spot. He may have just tied with his teammate, but our final competitor is rolling out. Unfortunately, RJ Turner was not able to effect repairs on War Wizard. They did indeed damage a transmission, and they're going to have that repaired for tomorrow. But right now, we're going to wrap this thing up with the guy who qualified number one, took the win in the racing bracket, and he would love to wrap it up on Friday night with a clean sweep. Tim Hall Jr., Jurassic Attack. You get back on the throttle in reverse to get that thing to stand up. It's very, very slick out there. Well, again, when the dirt, whoa, hang on to it, Tim. When the dirt gets out on this pavement is very hard to get the wheels to turn on because there's a lot of friction between the rubber and the tarmac that's out there. The steering does not like to work as quickly, but when you start getting dust on it, it has the opposite effect. It gets very hard to find traction out there, and it can help with the steering, but it makes it nearly impossible to do some of these two-wheel moves without that little added effort. Trying for something there, a little more momentum at it, maybe. Fairly effective. We'll see. He's just getting started, though. Hammering on this thing. I think we're in for 3 days of marathon freestyles from this gentleman from cold country. Massive launch for Jurassic Attack. Can carry it as far as he wants to, and he's all the way over there in secondary parking. And the trike emerges from that cloud of dust over there on that banking. What a run. Tim Hall Jr. is laying down. One of the original, if not the original, dyno name in monster trucks, made famous by the Don Frankish team out of Alberta, Canada, many years ago. Drivers, legendary drivers have fielded this name, not to mention Don Frankish, but including Lindsay Wink, his brothers Kevin and Nathan Wink, of course, Christy Edge. We have seen Too Tall field this truck in years past, and now another name added to the repertoire, and I'm sure many more to come, but Jurassic Attack continues to be legendary monster trucks. Where is he going? it's going to be time for another lecture from the track crew. I will tell you, somebody in Utah is going to be getting a phone call about that. But the crowd doesn't care. They're here for the action, and they got him some action. Tim Hall Jr. laying it down here in freestyle with Jurassic Attack. And I do believe we're waiting on word. Trying to hear who the freestyle winner is going to be. We'll know in just a moment as they immediately start heading out to clean up the jumps. It will be Tim Hall Jr., Jurassic Attack, clean sweep on Friday night, quick qualifier, wins racing, and freestyle. So it's been an awesome start for the team out of Utah, the driver out of Cadillac, Michigan. We thank you for joining us for day one of the 43rd Annual Fall 4-Wheel Jamboree Nationals, driven by Yokohama, presented by Tire Rack. We will see you next time.